How do you interpret inclusion in terms of child with complex learning difficulties and disabilities, please?
So I think for me, inclusion should be everyone's responsibility working in a school. I also think obviously the purpose of inclusion is to be able to help children that can't or haven't got the ability to access the curriculum, creating tasks for them whereby they can and where they can receive the same opportunities and experiences as other children. It's really important in a mainstream school because you find that sometimes you'll look around the room and there's children there that just look really lost, and if they were just given a different task, they'd be on task, they'd be on it, and they'd actually benefit a lot more just from that extra mile just gone for them.
Oh yeah, that's very good. So, do you have any child with complex learning difficulties in your class?
I do. So I work with a young child who they've been through some screening, some tests, observations since the age of 5, and they've made really good progress in that time, but they've never actually been diagnosed. However, their main problems are severe communication difficulties with their speech. So they're also an EAL student as well. They struggle to make friends, communicate with others, ask for basic things, which obviously then reflects their ability to carry out year 5 expected level work. So they're assigned a 1-to-1 in the mornings and afternoons. So I'm often their afternoon 1-to-1, but they're in my group in the morning as well for interventions and things like that.
That's good. And why he couldn't have EHC plan? Is he on progress to have it?
So they have an EHCP plan. They have that, and they also have a pupil passport, which obviously allows us all to follow that. There's been a lot of guidance given from external agencies that have come in regarding their speech, but an actual diagnosis isn't on the plan. I think there was an issue where he was pulled out of the diagnosis process before receiving one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because
but obviously the issues are still there. There's just not actually an official diagnosis for him.
So he's on process to be diagnosed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's still, the school encourages him to still go for more screenings and things like that. But I think at the minute, Mum and Dad are just happy with the provisions in place for him. But obviously next year, they'll need to start thinking about secondary school. So it's probably something that will be addressed next year.
Yeah, it's a really, really important question, especially for the parents. I did have same question. Anyway, so could I ask you, how do you support him, with his complex need? And if I can ask about before the pandemic and after the pandemic, or before the lockdown and during the lockdown?
Okay, so before the pandemic, when life was somewhat normal, he would come out in regular interventions with me in small groups, with other children that are probably working at a lower ability as well. And this gave him a chance to, feel a bit more comfortable in a smaller group. He would share more ideas with support of his 1-to-1. Also, just following guidance from a speech therapist that come in, we decided that when we speak to this child, we have to address them by their first name before giving them any instruction, just because of attention problems and being able to retain the information that you're saying to him. You need to address him by his name. So that's just something we ensure that we do every day. Also, allowing him extra time to comprehend what's being asked of him, so he can get quite frustrated, upset if he hasn't had enough time to do something, in order to stop him from having, what we would call in school, a meltdown. you'd just give him that extra time and you'd make that time for him. And also as well, making sure that he's using his words rather than sounds. So if he's upset with something, to say it with his words rather than making a noise or making a face. We encourage, we'll say to him, what's the matter? Can you say what the matter is? That kind of thing.
That's good. So, can you, is more communication skills that you are developing in him, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's all about improving their communication skills, ensuring that they start to, communicate better with their peers in the class. I think this child's particularly lucky. They've been in the same class since year 3, and the other children in the class respond really well to him, which is nice to see.
Yeah, that's good.
They really work nicely with him, which obviously isn't the case for every child, but particularly with him, it's good.
Is it possible?
And obviously, since the pandemic, in regards to support, an extra, I think it was in line with a legal requirement to do with his EHCP. Obviously, more support and provision was necessary, so they've set me up an extra Google support classroom. So he gets an extra 2 lessons a day with myself, where we practice phonics, we play like speech and language games to just really encourage his speech, so he doesn't lose that while he's not in school with his peers.
So he's not coming to school? But
no,
you are supporting him, online. That's good. So why he couldn't come to school is because he haven't been diagnosed, or the parents' decision, or is it school decision?
I think that the school would have liked him to be there just to maintain the routine, obviously. But I think where he's got siblings, I think he's got a few other siblings as well. I think the parents just made a decision to keep him home. But they're really supportive. I often speak to Dad through the live lesson. He's there next to him the whole time, assisting him, helping him, basically being his one-to-one for the session. So it does work well.
Good. So could I ask you now about his progress? Do you see his progress, and how are you monitoring his progress, please?
How do I monitor it?
Yeah.
So we're asked to fill out, obviously he's got a pupil progress plan to go with his EHCP. So at the start of every half term, there's some goals that he should aim to achieve. I know that one for this half term was being able to ask a teacher politely for more than one item of resource or something along those lines, which is obviously we're trying to achieve this through the speech and language games that we play through the Google Classroom. We also monitor it through obviously clear communication between parents. We ask how he's getting on at home. They really implement what we do at school at home as well, which is useful. Regular meetings with the Senko, so I will, as he's 1-to-1 in the afternoon, I report to his Senko regularly, sometimes fortnightly.
Is it possible?
And we can make any changes necessary for him as well.
Is it possible to be with the Senko like all the time, or get contact with her?
Yeah, so the Senko at my school is really good. She's really involved with it. She's only ever an email away, or her office door is always open to go to her. There's been many times actually I've gone to her and said, I can see this child could really do with some more support. They may not necessarily have SEN. But a provision should be put in place for them, a little intervention or something like that. So it works quite well, actually.
That's good. That's very good, to be honest. Is this working same in now? Like, I think is from the parents, isn't it? During the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. So his parents are really helpful as well.
It's very good. This is one positive case, which is, I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, is he engaged with his peers, with his friends in the classroom? You said they're really nice to him.
He engages, and like I said, his peers respond really well to him. I just think because they know him, he's got a really nice nature about him. He makes people laugh.